So Jarvis, you are my brother, right? I was with you for many, many years, for 9,500 days. And I hurt when I see guys like you locked up in there. I know that you can't change the past, but I know your attitude can put you on a pathway to a better life. And so if I'm pushing buttons and so like that, I'm doing it because, hey, bro, I love you. And I want you to come out here strong. And if you guys find anything I say to be inconsistent with what I'm doing, then challenge me. But let me listen to you. Where are you at what stage in your life with regard to your values and your goals and your attitude? And I'd love to hear that about so you can tell us about your mindset, about your commitment to hard work and goodwill. All right, brother? Talk to me.
Uh, well, I have the time to really think about before if I do leave my cycle or where I'm gonna put myself at uh, the day if I get released. I really have time to really change my cycles and how I was living out there, and it could be a change for me. It just I just got to push myself to stay motivated and stay on top. I know
So,
I
can I ask you some questions, Jarvis, about that?
yes,
So how long have you been in jail?
I say 3 months or 4 months, 3 or
And
4 months.
when do you think you might be going home?
I don't know their schedule, so
Well, do you know the worst case? Do you know the worst possible case?
um,
Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 10 years?
I think it like 6 months or less. I don't know
Okay.
for sure.
So good. So one step in having the right attitude. Were you in the class Monday and Tuesday?
Yesterday I was.
So on Monday we talked about defining success. Okay, what does it look like? What does it mean for me? And it may not mean for you, what you do in jail. It may mean, where am I in 3 years? Because I know I'm going to be home in 6 months. What's my life going to look like in 3 years? Can you visualize what the best outcome for your life is in 3 years? How is it different from the time you came to jail?
I see myself success, but
What
it
does
just
that mean? What does that mean? You just said success, but I don't know. Success for you may be one thing versus success for, let me give you an example. Okay, let's take somebody who is really successful in sports. Who is that person to you?
in sports.
Yeah, one sport. Do you know anything about sports?
Yes,
Tell me one person who's really successful.
I say Cam Newton.
Okay, great. Now, tell me somebody who's really successful in your mind in business. Anybody, any name. Or in entertainment. If you like music?
Yeah, I say Jim Carrey.
Okay. Jim Carrey?
Yes,
Okay.
he's
So
like a comedian, but he's like
that's okay. Then let's say successful as an entertainer. So you got one person who's really successful as an entertainer and one person who's really successful as a quarterback, right?
yeah.
Okay. Do you think they choose the same thing to be successful as an entertainer and successful as a quarterback, or do they choose different things?
I see a different picture in their story.
Exactly. But each of them said, I want to be the best in the world at being a quarterback. And one guy said, I want to be the best in the world at making people laugh. Right? So they chose a path that would help them get there. But one thing they had in common, Jarvis, is they both defined success. Number one, they knew what they wanted to do. I'll bet you if I were to interview Cam Newton, he would say, I've known I wanted to be a quarterback since I was 6 years old. And everything I did was consistent with what I thought it would take to be the best in the world at what I wanted to do. And if I asked Drew Carey of what does it take to be the best person to make people laugh, he probably figured out whatever those steps were going to take. And he set goals. Maybe I have to learn English. Maybe I have to learn timing. Maybe I have to learn stage presence. And there are probably techniques that will take him there. But what they both had in common is they both made a 100% commitment to being the best in the world at what they defined as success, Jarvis. So I want you, my goal for you, my goal is to help you see that if you want to be successful in 3 years, if you see, you've only been here for one class. You know I was in prison for 26 years, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 26 years. I started in a jail just like that. And somebody pushed me to start thinking about what is success for me. And the more specific I could get, that's what helped me engineer the path. For me, because I was going to jail not for 6 months, I got a 45-year sentence. And on 45 years, I had to serve 26 years. And I didn't want to define success like the jail or the prison was telling me success. I wanted to define success like the leaders from whom I learned define success. Okay? I learned from leaders who told me the right mindset is what it takes to be successful. I learned from leaders who told me I have to have hard work and goodwill. I have to work really hard, but I have to do something that's something bigger than myself. And so I had this vision of really looking forward and saying, okay, how am I going to get out? And for me, Jarvis, for me, I'm not saying this is right for everybody, but for me, I define success by saying, I want to come home and I want to be able to go into any audience, any room, any business meeting, any career, and nobody will know that I served a day in prison unless I told them. That was a goal for me, right? I want to come out unscathed by the prison experience, even though I was going to be in prison for 9,500 days, which I was, okay? But I can assure you that in order to do that, I had to set very, very clear goals, and I had to make a 100% commitment to success, to a pursuit of excellence. That's what gives me a 10. So when I ask you, what does success look like? That is effectively the first step. You got to define it, number one. And number two, then we're going to work on what are the goals that we got to hit to get there. And then number three, we've got to make that 100% commitment. It doesn't mean that we don't fall down. We might fall down. Things are not easy, right? Unemployment's very high. Substance abuse is a real problem. There's a crisis in America that makes it really hard. But if you want to overcome, this is a pattern that has worked for me. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying, first of all?
Yes.
So Jarvis, I'm going to try and ask you again. What do you think success means to you?
I think it's in course or in course of.
Do you think it could mean having a house? A place to live? Do you have a place to live?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a job?
Sort of like a job.
What kind of a job do you have?
It's like I work on like mechanic, like a handyman at like.
Do you like that job?
Not really.
What kind of job would you like?
Something to do with writing or drawing.
Okay, that is perfect. Do you know I've written like 100 books? Do you know that? Have you seen this book?
No, sir. I didn't.
I think it's in your library, okay? It's called Earning Freedom, Conquering a 45-Year Sentence, right? See how big that is? It's like 500 pages. You know, when I was in your seat, I was just like you. I said, I think that I would like to become a writer. I think I would like to learn how to write. And I was inspired by Malcolm X. Have you ever read about Malcolm X?
I heard like a few stories about him.
So he's got a book. It's called The Autobiography of Malcolm X. And it tells the story of how he learned how to write while he was in jail. And he became a very powerful communicator. So I got inspired by learning about that, and that was one of the ways that I defined success. Exactly what you just said, but that is very specific, Jarvis. To say you think that you would like to write, that is really specific. So I'm going to give you, I know that's almost time for your guys' break, and I took a lot of time with you because I want to just give you this guidance because you weren't here on Monday for values and defining success. And this goes for everybody in the jail there. To the extent that you can really define success, you can start setting goals, and then you can make a 100% commitment. Would you like to hear the way I define success about becoming a writer, the goals that I set, and then how I made a 100% commitment while I was in jail, just like that, wearing an orange jumpsuit, just like that? Would you like to hear that?
Yes.
Because I couldn't really envision myself being a published author when I was facing life in prison. But what I could do is say, I could define it, and I could say, within 10 years, I will be a published author. And so I set, how old are you, Jarvis?
I'm 30.
So you're 30. You're still young, right? I'm 56 years old, okay? And I'll bet that if you look back to when you were 20 and you think of all the decisions that you made when you were 20 to 30, you said, I could have done better, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So right now, you think about where you're going to be when you're 40, where you're going to be when you're 35, where you're going to be when you're 32. And you think through, if I want to be a writer, am I willing to make a 100% commitment to that? I was. And so I said, okay, here's what I need to do. I need to develop my vocabulary because I have a very bad vocabulary. And I didn't have it, I didn't know how to speak well. And I didn't know how to express myself. And I didn't know how to put sentences, words into sentences, and sentences into paragraphs, and paragraphs into long-form content. So you know what I had to do? I had to work and make a 100% commitment to that very specific definition of how I define success. I want to train myself to become a writer. And so I would say when I was in jail, I made a commitment that says every single day, I'm going to write 1,000 words. That's very specific, very specific. You could do that and you would say to yourself, I can ask you a question. If you made a 100% commitment to writing 1,000 words, meaning I don't mean just writing words, I mean tell a story. Go talk to Hancock. Go talk to some of the other guys in the jail. Talk to Cole. See if you can write their life. Ask them a story, tell them to tell it to you, and then write 1,000 words. That is an exercise. And if you did that every day, I'm going to ask you, if you did that every day, do you think that in 1 year it would be easier than it is right now? Because right now it would be hard to write 1,000 words, right? But if you made that commitment 100%, do you think it would get easier?
Yes, I think so. If you keep want the pitch, want the home run hit. So if they pitch you the curveball, I think every day if you practice and practice, I think it'd be more easier having the grip and making a home run.
Well, Jarvis, I got to tell you, that's a perfect answer. You got to make that everyday commitment. That's what hard work is all about. But the other thing about being a writer is it's also good for society because you're spreading information. You're teaching other people through words. And that's what makes us, the ability to be resilient and the ability to look forward instead of looking back. It's showing I may be 30 years old, but I've got a never quit mentality. And today is the day. Today is the first inning of a 9-inning game. Okay? Today is my new game where I'm going to make a 100% commitment to success. And so, that's what I wanted to share with you. And I hope that we can continue these hot seats with other brothers in the pod so that we all can work together toward understanding what does it mean to have the right attitude. It's not for me. It's not for Mr. Johnson. It's not for the case managers. It's not for your mom, your dad. It's for you, Jarvis. You've got to make that 100% commitment. And I hope that this pathway will help you. Okay, brother?
Yes, sir.
God bless you, bro.
Hey, thank you.